Good morning, Women Post. Happy Wednesday, March 19th. We are on a day 2 today. All right, for lunch, we have chicken strips, biscuit, mixed veggies, and a cutie orange. If you are selecting hot lunch, sack lunch is a Lunchable. Quick reminder, sorry, forgot to do this before lunch. Today after school, we have 3 clubs firing up again. So listen closely and make sure if you are in one of those clubs, you are getting there right after school. We have Win Club, we have Win Math, and we have choir today. So those 3 things, please make sure you are getting there on time. Alrighty, scooter picks today. 3rd grade, we have Mason S. from Mrs. O'Brien's class. 4th grade, we have Zane Z. from Miss Larson's class. And 5th grade, we have Emmett S. from Mrs. Meyer's class. Come on down and get your scooters. And if you notice, I have Mrs. Forsythe here this morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Because we are going to celebrate our quarter 3 character trait of integrity today. We are very excited to celebrate those of you who were nominated to show how much we appreciate you showing integrity. That will be today at 2 o'clock in the cafe. 2 o'clock in the cafe for a treat. All right, starting us off, we have from 3rd grade, Mrs. O'Brien's class, Oliver Fager.
From Miss Williams' class, we have Dominic Foster.
From Mrs. Bankovich's class, we have Mackenzie Kramer.
And from Mrs. Ball's class, we have Emery Salveson.
From Miss Brooks' class, we have Ellie Zingery.
From Mrs. Sipes' class, we have Alexa Arce Lynch.
From Mrs. Parker's class, we have Hudson Brakefield.
And finally, for the last 3rd grade class, from Mrs. Tackaberry's class, we have Haley Pearson.
All right, 4th grade, starting us off for Mrs. Kriegler's class, Maddox Bloomquist.
From Miss Larson's class, we have Owen Butts.
From Mrs. Coon's class, Sawyer Bianchi.
From Mrs. Bigwood's class, we have Ethan Villatoro.
From Mrs. Jacoby's class, Olivia Clement.
From Mrs. Rowland's class, we have Nellie Bennington.
From Mrs. Fish's class, we have Brenna Paul.
All right, and now from 5th grade, from Mrs. Matthews' class, we have Max Salazar Rodriguez.
From Mrs. Jennings' class, we have Aria Smith.
From Mrs. Negri's class, we have Talon Sodergren.
From Mrs. Tula's class, we have Liliana Pipitone.
From Mr. Tula's class, we have Ethan Helgerson.
From Mrs. Greenberg's class, we have Quinn Brothers.
And from Mrs. Meyer's class, we have Gabby Weeman.
And from our PIP class, we have Maxwell Goschel. Great job, you guys. We are so proud of you. So 2 o'clock today, come on down to the cafe with your crowns and your certificates. We'll get a picture of you and you can enjoy a treat.
And just a reminder, homeroom teachers, if you could please grab a picture of your student who is nominated for integrity and send it my way. We'd appreciate that. We love posting those on Facebook.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mrs. Forsythe, for joining me. All right, we also have continuing Celebrating Women's History Month. We have Marie Curie was the first woman to receive a Nobel Prize and the first person to win 2 Nobel Prizes, which is so exciting. Her first one, Mrs. Nelson looked up just some research on what they were for, because that's always exciting to see, both in the fields of science. First one was for physics in 1903 on her work on spontaneous radiation. Back in 1903, that's crazy to think. And she also coined the term radioactive, which we still hear today. And her second Nobel Prize was in 1911 in the field of chemistry, where she was still studying in that same, genre, radioactivity. So very exciting. So that is who we celebrate today, continuing Women's History Month.
Thank you, Mrs. Nelson.
Absolutely. We have a ton of birthdays today because we want to celebrate our 5th graders that leave tomorrow morning for Timberlea. We are very excited for you, but a lot of you will have birthdays over spring break. So we will do 5th grade birthdays over spring break today, and then 3rd and 4th we will celebrate you as well tomorrow and Friday. But we have one person celebrating today on March 19th, and that would be Miss Maddie C. from Mrs. Sipes' class. Maddie, get on the birthday train. All right. Oh, actually, we have 2 people. That's right. We have Elijah F. as well for Mrs. Negri's class celebrating today. Elijah, happy birthday. And starting us off celebrating birthdays while we are gone, that would be Ariana W. from Mrs. Meyer's class. Also, Jacob C. from Mrs. Negri's class. Landon G. from Mrs. Matthews' class. Blocking your picture, sorry, Landon. Alexia P. from Mrs. Negri's class. All celebrating over spring break. Ashlyn W. from Mrs. Myers' class. And that is it. That's a lot of birthdays. We hope you guys have wonderful birthdays. All right, if you could please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and our student pledge. I am the one and only person who has the power to decide who I am and what I do. I accept the consequences for my decisions. I am in charge of my learning and behavior. I respect the rights of others, and I am a credit to myself, my family, my school, and my community. I believe, I achieve, I succeed. All right, warriors, have a wonderful day. And remember, today and always, you are incredibly important. You belong here, and you are loved. Keep shining, warriors. Have a good one.